Wow. Well, thank you, Steve and Carol, for that gracious introduction. I think that overwhelmed and humbled are the right words to describe how Gail and I have felt at the warm welcome and support we've received at every step of this process. And the turnout today is no exception. It feels great to be coming home to Dartmouth. And to lead Dartmouth at this time in its history is really special as we approach the 250th anniversary of the college and at a time of historic change in higher education. But more about that in a moment. First, I want to thank some people. Most importantly, I want to thank my family, my three wonderful children, Michael, Maureen, and Patrick, and especially my wife, Gail. Gail has been a source of extraordinary support for many years, and I know that she shares my excitement about our move to Hanover. What you may not know is the pivotal role that Dartmouth played in getting Gail and I together. In fact, we were introduced to each other by Gail's brother, Bill, and Bill I knew here at Dartmouth as a classmate in the amazing class of 1977. I'm delighted that Gail and Bill and Gail's two sisters, Suzanne and Cindy, were able to be with me here today. And do you all want to stand and wave? Yeah. I also want to thank the Board of Trustees for placing their confidence in me. As you might suspect, when provosts get together, we spend most of our time swapping stories about our boards. And, based on those stories and my interactions with the Dartmouth trustees, I can tell you something that you probably already knew. Dartmouth has a terrific Board of Trustees. To a person, they are smart, they are experienced, and they're totally dedicated to the college. And so I so look forward to working with them in the years to come. I also want to recognize the members of the search committee, which was so ably led by Bill Hellman and Diana Taylor. The search committee ran a terrific search, a great search. Their love for this place is infectious. I don't know how any candidate could have met with the search committee and not come away dying to be the president of Dartmouth College. And like Steve, I hope we don't run too many searches. And lastly, I want to acknowledge the presidents who have come before me. I stand on the shoulders of incredible leaders who have made Dartmouth the great place that it is. Leaders like Jim Wright, a wise and steady hand, who I know will offer me his experience and counsel just as he enriches the academic life at Dartmouth as the Wheelock Professor of History. And Jim Kim, who inspired so much creative energy and got this campus, motivated this campus to think bigger. I plan to continue his efforts as well. This is a moment of great opportunity for Dartmouth, but we of course must be thoughtful in setting priorities for the investments of our time, energy, and resources. And thankfully, that thought is already undergoing its development with a strategic planning process that has been led by Carol Folt. And Carol also, of course, deserves our praise and thanks, as Steve just mentioned, for her continuing expert service as interim president. So please join me in thanking Carol. All right, it's been almost 40 years since I first set foot on this campus. John Kemeny was in the third year of his presidency. I came to Dartmouth having spent my first 18 years in a small mining town in the northern Adirondack Mountains. I arrived at Dartmouth with a weak understanding of the world and little confidence in my academic abilities. And Dartmouth is where I grew up. Not surprisingly, my first year at Dartmouth, particularly my first term, was a sobering reality check. But at Dartmouth, I found faculty and fellow students who both nurtured and challenged me. I worked with faculty members who inspired me, most notably for me, the mathematics faculty. They were so excited by their scholarly work. I can still remember how their faces would light up when they talked about the latest problem they were working on or the approach they were going to take. And I came to a realization, which was that there's nothing I'd rather do than devote my life to higher education. To work on the campus of a great college or university would be the coolest thing in the world. And so here I am, back again. And despite the passing of 40 years, I find that there are actually some distinct parallels between the situation that Dartmouth found itself in all those years ago and today's situation. And I want to highlight three. First, Dartmouth remains a preeminent place of learning where talented students, faculty, and staff come together to educate the next generation. In the great liberal arts tradition, we prepare our undergraduates to be active, engaged citizens. But that's true of any liberal arts college. At Dartmouth, we expect more. We expect our graduates to be leaders who will not only engage in civil discourse and debate, but actually shape that debate and point the way forward. John Kemeny made the same observation in his inaugural address when he said, and I quote, "Dartmouth should train leaders who will enlarge human knowledge, leaders who will work in high office, leaders who will guide great corporations to new services to society, leaders who will work to wipe out poverty and disease, and I hope leaders who will lead their people out of the ghettos," end quote. Our alumni today far exceed that expectation, filling all the leadership roles that John Kemeny just described, and many, many others. Whether it's through our top-ranked undergraduate program or our outstanding graduate and professional programs, preparing our students to be leaders is, in my mind, the most important work we do at Dartmouth. And I'm eager to be part of that work. So, like John Kemeny, I plan to teach undergraduate math classes during my time as president. That is, if the math department will have me. Second parallel, Dartmouth remains a place of great discovery, where faculty and students demonstrate the power of the mind to address the world's most vexing issues, to advance our understanding of the human condition, and to create works that enrich the human spirit. The issues facing our world, things like meeting the energy needs of our planet, harnessing the power of the arts to shape social norms, designing and delivering effective health care, are complex, multifaceted problems requiring many types of expertise to address. Our nation looks to its great institutions of higher education as uniquely positioned to bring together the broad range of knowledge and deep thinking required to make progress on these really vexing issues. And as we engage the great issues of the world on our campus, it's imperative that we involve our students in this research work so that they understand firsthand the power of critical analysis and creative thinking, and most importantly, carry that understanding out into the world with them. Lastly, like 40 years ago, education finds itself in a period of dramatic change. In the early 1970s, campuses were roiled by unrest caused by an unpopular war. They were grappling with the opportunities and imperatives of diversity, including coeducation. And they were facing financial challenges imposed by an ailing economy. The Dartmouth campus, led by John Kemeny, responded boldly to these dynamic forces. With the historic suspension of classes in the spring of 1970, the advent of coeducation on our campus, and enrollment growth enabled by the D Plan. Higher education is again at a moment of churn and upheaval and transformation. The forces driving us today are different than those of 40 years ago. Today, information technologies offer unprecedented opportunities to rethink our historic modes of education and discovery. Our graduates are entering a workplace that is itself undergoing profound changes. A work environment that is characterized by increasing levels of volatility, complexity, workforce diversity, and global reach. A work environment that's driven to a greater and greater extent by individual empowerment rather than strength of large organizations. These changes to the workplace compel us to rethink the ways in which we prepare our graduates to lead. And yes, again, higher education is faced with financial challenges imposed by a weak economy. But this time, challenges not only to the cost of operating our campuses, but also significant challenges of access and affordability for our students. Success will go to those colleges and universities that make the right choices at this important moment. I'm excited to have the opportunity to join with such a talented and committed community of students, faculty, alumni, and staff in moving Dartmouth forward. I'm anxious to meet all of you and listen to your thoughts and ideas as we work together over the next several years to make Dartmouth the best that it can possibly be. I look forward to greeting all of you personally in Alumni Hall as soon as we finish here. Thank you all for coming.